Now, the tax ombudsman has provided access to tax justice to thousands of taxpayers who are unable to afford to take SARS to court if it needs to do so. Now, the office says more needs to be done to ensure its continued independence from SARS. In fact, we're joined for a discussion on this issue now by the CEO of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. That's Thabo Lekhwaila. Thabo, good morning. Thanks so much for your time on the AM report. So 7 years, October marking 7 years since the inception of the Office of the Tax Ombud. Take us through what the past 7 years have been like.
Thank you very much, Michelle, and good morning to you and to your viewers. I think that the importance of the Office of the Tax Ombud has been seen by government and taxpayers from prior to its inception. So when the office was set up in 2013, it was at a point where taxpayers had no recourse against SARS that is free and impartial, other than the other recourse that would be provided, for example, by the administrative laws of the country. So the office was brought into existence at that point. Ever since its existence, obviously, at the beginning, teething issues were included, making taxpayers aware of the existence of the office, fine-tuning the mandate of the office, and just so as to not double up on what actually the SARS is doing, the SARS's complaints mechanism does. Yeah. So what our office actually does is that when taxpayers are disgruntled or they've got complaints against SARS, which are of a service, procedural, or administrative nature, where they have found no joy in resolving those matters through the SARS complaints mechanism, they are able to come to our office and we offer them free service against to deal with those complaints against SARS.
Well, Thabo, give us a sense of some of the complaints you've received over the past 7 years. If I'm an ordinary taxpayer listening to this interview now, what are some of the important things I need to know about that I can actually come to the tax ombudsman with?
Right. So it goes back to what rights do you have? You've got a right, for example, to appeal against the SARS decision. You've got the right to actually ask SARS to give you reasons for their decisions. You've got, and if SARS does not allow you those, you're able to come to our office and we would assist you with that. We've had the big issue that we had, Michelle. One of them was the refunds issue. The refunds issue has been a big issue where SARS withheld some refunds, and we were able to help SARS or to help taxpayers get those refunds released. Just to give you an example, for the year 2018-2019, we actually facilitated tax savings of up to actually more than 400 million for our top taxpayer complaints. So, I mean, 400 million just for the top 10, it's quite a lot of money if you think about it. So this involves situations where a taxpayer has an assessment raised on the taxes, and that assessment is not explained by SARS. You know, you've got rights to information. You've got a right for to have the SARS not take away your money without proper procedures being followed. So, for example, if you find that tax has been or money has been withdrawn in your account by SARS and the procedures have not been followed properly, you're able to come to our office and then we would assist you with that.
I mean, it's incredible to think about. You talk about that amount between 2018 and 2019, 400 million rand saved in the top tier of taxpayers in South Africa. As we now take a look and take stock of our economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic, how do you measure then how the Office of the Tax Ombudsman has, I imagine, saved businesses, saved homes from being sold, saved families from being destitute?
Yes, that's a very important point, what those savings mean. As you state, homes could have been repossessed, jobs would have been lost. So the pandemic brought with it new challenges. One of the newest challenges that it brought about was that during lockdown, there was the shutdown of, obviously, SARS shutdown as well. And a lot of taxpayers found themselves in a situation where they're not even able to communicate with SARS. And when the levels were relaxed a little bit and we moved from 5 to 4 and 4 to 3, we were able to communicate with SARS to prioritize those cases where, for example, businesses were at risk of closing down, where, for example, taxpayers were not able to, they ran out of cash. For example, if you've got a refund that is pending and SARS is not open, they closed, you have that challenge. One batch of a refund could result in a business either succeeding or closing
Absolutely,
down.
yeah.
So in addition to that, what we did, which is something that we're very proud of, is that we released we came up with a new theme that we run with now, that during the time that COVID is putting pressure on government and on everybody on resources, nobody actually champions and looks at taxpayers' rights. So we came up with the theme Taxpayers' Rights Matter, which basically is aimed at educating taxpayers of their rights. Like I mentioned, you've got the right to property, which is enshrined in the Constitution of South Africa, the right to equality, which manifests itself in tax in the form of horizontal equity and vertical equity. This is just the fancy way of saying that the more you earn, the more you pay, and if you earn the same amount of money, you should pay the same amount of tax. So we've got these rights that we want to pronounce. We are aware of that most of our taxpayers are not really experts in tax laws. So we wanted to bring these in layman's terms, in easy to read, easy to understand. So that's why we're running this campaign of in educating taxpayers of their rights.
So Thabo, I imagine that the work of the tax ombudsman does in some way require the office to work with SARS, but how in doing so does the office of the tax ombudsman maintain its own independence from SARS?
Yeah. So we are impartial as a starting point. So when we get complaints from the taxpayers, we review those against the actions that have been taken by the SARS. Working with SARS, in your words, Michelle, means, for our purposes, means that once we receive a complaint, we interact with SARS and we look on their systems as to whether the taxpayer has been treated fairly. We meet with SARS fairly regularly to ensure, firstly, that they pay proper attention to the cases that we bring to them, and at the same time that there are no backlogs, or we reduce the backlogs that are there. So our office consists of a group of highly educated individuals, highly experienced, who understand the essence of impartiality, who understand the role that we need to play for the taxpayers, but also who understand that we should not be biased, we should be impartial, we should look at these complaints with an objective eye, so as not to favor, because if you favor, obviously, the outcome might not be as impartial or as neutral or as objective as it should.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Thabo, thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM report. Quite an important story to reflect on there as we are in the middle of tax season. That's Thabo Legoela, CEO of the Office of the Tax Ombudsman. A good idea to know your rights if you are a taxpayer in the country, and if you need recourse, the Office of the Tax Ombudsman is where you can go.